Yori Koroi, and welcome to Fear of the Dark. It's finally nice to meet you guys in the flesh. Today's video consists of 8 stories dealing with the paranormal, possessions, and Ouija boards. No, not Wheezy boards, Ouija boards. Hopefully you guys like this video. It's been a long time since we dropped, but we're here and we're back, stronger than ever. So get your favorite blanket, get a nice big bowl of popcorn, buttery, extra buttery, and tune in. You guys take care. Okay, I usually don't post here, but I need to tell someone because I feel like I'm losing my mind. This all started a week ago when I found my old diary from when I was 10. I hadn't thought about it in years, but I came across it in a dusty old box in my attic while I was clearing out some stuff for a garage sale. I was so excited at first, like regaining a piece of my childhood back. I started flipping through the pages, reading about my 5th grade drama, crushes, and random little notes about my day. But then I found something weird. There's an entry in the diary that I don't remember writing at all. It's dated March 16, 2011, which would have been the day after my 11th birthday. It started off normal, me talking about the party and the gifts I got. Then it takes a turn. There's a section where I wrote, "Mom say I shouldn't go into the attic anymore. She says it's not safe, but I keep hearing the whispers up there. Last night, they called my name." I literally froze when I read that. I didn't remember anything like that happening, but the writing was mine, or at least it looked like it. After that entry, the diary goes back to normal, talking about school and friends. Yeah, I tried to brush it off as a weird childhood memory or something like that, or maybe my imagination just running wild. And then things started happening around the house. Little things at first. I'd hear creaks in the attic above my room at night. I figured it was just the house settling. But then I heard footsteps. Slow, deliberate footsteps. 2 nights ago, it got worse. I woke up around 2 a.m. to the sound of something moving upstairs. Not just footsteps, but dragging. Like something heavy was being pulled across the floor. My heart was pounding, but I had to force myself to go up there and check. When I opened the attic door, the dragon stopped, but the air felt thick, like someone was watching me. Yesterday, I decided to read more of the diary, and I found another entry that I definitely don't remember writing. It said, "He's in the attic again. He wants me to come back. He says he's lonely, and he doesn't want to be up there anymore. Mom says it's dangerous, but he keeps calling my name. He knows that I'm scared." Okay, hey, look, here's the thing. My mom never said anything about the attic being dangerous. In fact, we rarely even used it when I was a kid. So where did this come from? Who the hell is he? Last night, I woke up to whispers, not creaks or footsteps this time. Actual whispers. I swear to my Lord above, I heard my name, just like in the diary. But when I go to check, the attic was empty. I don't know what to do. I'm starting to feel like I'm losing it. I thought about burning the diary, but something is stopping me. I keep thinking about maybe I'd find answers if I keep reading it, but I also am terrified of what I might find. Has anyone else experienced something like this? Could this be some sort of childhood trauma resurfacing? Or is it possible for an old diary to somehow change? I need advice. Now, I don't use Reddit. I remembered this recently and I thought that I would like to share it here. Me and both of my older sisters shared an imaginary friend when we were children. Me and both of my older sisters shared an imaginary friend when we were children. I was unaware of this and invited him into my house where he began tormenting us every night and scratching us in our sleep. When I was very little, I would often play in the park within driving distance of my house quite often. I hardly saw any of my friends outside of school, and my siblings were either not there this specific time or were playing without me, and I was a very socially awkward child, so I didn't really approach anyone. But one time, I was very bored and lonely at this park, and I decided to make up a friend to play with. I named him Thomas, and he was slightly older and taller than me and had short black hair. I don't recall what we did at the park, but I brought him home with me afterwards. Fast forward a while later, and me and my older sister began having joint night terrors involving him. We both slept in the same room at this time. I only recall one dream we had, in which he was crawling on the wall and ceilings like a spider. It was only at this time that I found out that my older sister had an imaginary friend that looked exactly like him, and she also called him Thomas as well. In addition, my eldest sister, who slept in a different room, also had this imaginary friend that was the same age as her. It's crazy because I genuinely thought that I made him up on the spot at that time. I asked my sister about it, and it turns out she also remembered him pretty much the same exact time as I did. I'm not even sure what that means. Additionally, whenever we had one of those night terrors, we would wake up with long scratches all over our bodies. Waking up with scratches on my body continued for years after the night terrors actually stopped. Sometimes they would be in places that I could accidentally just scratch myself in the night, but sometimes they would end up in places that would be impossible for me to even be able to reach. Plus, me and my sister did not share a bed, so it couldn't have been her. I believe my mother, being a Christian, assumed he was a demon or something similar, and did some prayers over the house to get rid of him. But thinking about it now, I wonder if he actually left me alone. I kept waking up with scratches for a long time after, and for as long as I can remember, I've always considered myself unlucky. Additionally, the synchronicity between me and my sister remembering him at the same time makes me wonder if he's going to come back soon, as we're planning to move the house in the future. I've always considered myself a skeptic when it comes to the supernatural, but I just can't explain this occurrence. I've asked about it, and this definitely happened. There is zero chance my sister is lying about this happening to us. Today, I stopped by my local CVS to grab a few cleaning supplies. This particular store has had a serious issue with shoplifting, resulting in many items locked away behind plastic cases. To access the protected items, shoppers have to press a button that alerts an employee in the store to come and unlock the display case. I pressed the button and I waited alone in the aisle. As I stood there, briefly lost in my thought, I suddenly noticed an older white woman in her 50s or 60s beside me. It was almost as if she materialized out of thin air. One moment I was alone, and the next, there she was, smiling as if she had been there all along. She seemed friendly, but there was something off about her presence. She explained that she was also waiting for something behind one of those locked cases on the same aisle. We struck up a conversation, sharing our mutual annoyance on how shoplifting had turned shopping into such a hassle at this particular store. Now, what struck me as particularly odd was when she asked, "How do workers know when to come and unlock the case?" I explained the button system, but her question lingered in the back of my mind. It felt rather strange that someone who seemed so at ease in the store didn't know this simple process, as if she were a character from a dream who didn't quite fit in. Just then, a store employee arrived. I told the worker to help the woman first since I had several items that I needed behind different cases on that aisle. The woman asked the employee for measuring tape, particularly the green measuring tape, thanked the worker, and waved goodbye to me. I moved to the self-checkout to ring up my items while she paid at the main register. As she proceeded to walk out of the store after completing her purchase, she turned back and asked me if the plastic bags were free. I told her they were 5 cents. What's even weirder is that the person in the self-checkout next to me responded to her question as well, despite being on a phone call. How did they even hear the woman's question? Their focus seemed to be split between the call and the strange interaction, adding another layer to the quirkiness of the encounter. As I finished making my purchases, I glanced out of the window in front of the self-checkout register, expecting to see the woman leaving the store. Strangely, I didn't see her anywhere outside. It was as if she vanished into thin air. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Did I simply not pay attention when she arrived? Or was she just a figment of my imagination, a character who wandered from a different reality? As I walked out, the oddness of the encounter stayed in my mind. I left with an unsettling sense of wonder, questioning the subtle weirdness of the encounter. I still often wonder, was this all real? And what did it all mean? The other night I was taking a bath. My brothers and I were home alone and they were in the living room, which is nearly on the opposite side of the home. I was sitting, playing on my phone and listening to music, and I hear my brother R come running. He knocks loudly on my door, and when I answer, he asks if I'm okay. He sounded worried and a bit panicked, which is unlike him. I tell him I'm fine. Apparently, R and B was sitting on the couch and heard me screaming, like full on, loud, in pain or in danger scream. And R was freaked out because why would I be screaming? But the thing is, I didn't make a sound. This isn't the first time one of us heard another family member when they didn't speak, but is usually calling names. I've heard my mom calling my name or nickname multiple times when she didn't. But I've never heard anyone else scream without cause. So I thought I'd like to share this one. And oh yeah, for the record, my house is haunted. I also consider 2 stories of my family seeing me when I wasn't there. As far as paranormal experiences goes, this is probably one of the scariest ones that I've ever had, even though it wasn't even really that extreme compared to a lot of other stories I've heard and read. Either way, it happened sometime in 2013 when I was 19. I had my room in the basement in my dad's house. It was a late night and I laid there on my bed in complete darkness. I needed to sleep because I had school in the morning the next day. I suffered from insomnia back then and I felt too energetic to sleep. I laid there for a good while with thoughts swirling around in my head when I suddenly heard some kind of noises. I opened my eyes, but as I mentioned before, I was in complete darkness. I started to think that I imagined it, but then I heard it again, a scratching. From there it went on, getting more and more intense, and I quickly realized the noise was coming from underneath my bed. My eyes widened and panic spread throughout my body. It sounded as if someone was frantically clawing on the floor. Did I leave one of the cats here before I went to bed, I thought, trying to rationalize the situation. But I already knew, not even a cat can make that kind of noise. Then I felt something, like a scratching and punching against my back from underneath my mattress. The best way I can describe the whole thing is to imagine some poor soul being trapped inside of a coffin, desperately trying to break out. And I was on top of that coffin. I was paralyzed by the shock of it all, not knowing what to do. After I'd been laying there for a good while while the scratching and punching still kept going on, my fear eventually turned into some kind of rage. I jumped out of bed, ran across the room and turned on the lights. Then I threw myself on the floor, looked under my bed and yelled, "What do you want from me?" Nothing was there. The scratching had stopped. There was no one in the room except me. Somehow, I managed to fall asleep after that experience. A couple of months later, a friend of mine from school moved into our house. She rented a room for my dad on the top floor. After she had been there for 3 nights, she came to me in the morning and said that she'd had the craziest thing happen to her during the night. I could almost feel my skin turn pale as she told me the story of the exact same thing that happened to me. The scratching, the punching against the mattress. I knew for certain that I had never told her about my experience. We were really both freaked out when I told her the same exact thing that happened to me 2 floors down, months earlier.